detail the technology, but just to give you a sense of what DECA does. Then we'll go on to what we'd like to do in the future. So, as you already heard, this is an example of a little insulin pump. It's smaller than this. It's about this size. My older brother was in med school, and he needed specialty miniature pumps for doing his research. He was a pediatric hematologist, oncologist. He was developing better ways to treat babies with really serious diseases, leukemia. Home and whine and complain, I can't do what I need to do. I'd get down in the basement, build him a little box, so he could do what he wanted to do. But they were for specialty applications. I wasn't thinking about building a business around it. Anyway, but one day, one of the docs says to him, that little thing that you're putting in those isolates with those babies, like an IV pump for a life supply system for a baby, it's so small I could put it in the pocket of somebody, and they could give themselves continuous therapy all day long. If they're, for instance, a diabetic. Well, that took a product that was being made for the rarest disease you could think of for a few babies and put it right in the middle of a space where it's the most common chronic disease on the planet. Back to the stuff I really do in my day job. This is what a dialysis machine used to look like through the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s. The company that makes that machine came to us and asked us to make it better. What they meant by better was make these valves go away, make this motor go away, these weight scales. They were having reliability and cost issues. I had never really thought about the world of dialysis before, but we looked at this machine. We watched a nurse set one up. It took over 25 minutes. We looked at why don't we, now that we know there's a huge issue, it's an unmet need, why don't we make a little box that could sit at the bedside, like back in those days, a VCR, there were no DVDs, that you could open a little door up and pop in a little cassette. That would be, you pop this cassette in, close the door. If we put enough computer capability and sensor capability in this little box, you just throw your bag on here. Let's eliminate the weight scales, the motors, the valves, all this junk. And we said, if we could make it so that you could put a cassette, like that little thing in there, 18 months it had become pretty much the standard of care. Everybody in the world wanted to use it. And after now 11 or 12 years, last March, we shipped our 100 millionth therapy cassette to that machine. It is the global standard now. They've done about $14 billion in sales on this little thing, and it just changes everybody's life. So it gets to stairs, and these things literally balance and walk up and down a flight of stairs with a human payload on them. They're pretty cool. Once we did that, we said, take the seat off it, take the extra wheel off it, take the cluster off it, just use all that we learned about solid-state gyros, sensors, and other technology, put a set of wheels on it. It's a Segway. And so we did that. And of course, that got lots of attention. And I think people don't realize it was sort of the afterthought of the iBOT. And I mean anything. You could put one hose on that thing into a cesspool. You could put it into ocean water. The salt, you could put it into Cryptosporia, Gerardia, and 1.5 million wells in India full of arsenic. You could put anything you want into it, and what comes out of it isn't just sort of potable. What comes out of that machine meets the U.S. Pharmacopoeia standard for water for injection. It makes this Dizani look like toxic waste. And by the way, that box uses no filters, no membranes, no chemicals, no disposables, nothing. About a year ago, these guys came to me and said, we've already had 1,600 kids come back from Iraq. 1,600 missing at least a full arm. Articulated 14 degree of freedom arm. It weighs less than 9 pounds. I'm going to show it to you without any of the skins on it, which make it cosmetically would look eerily human. We're going to show you the structure of this thing with 14 sets of actuators being run by an exoskeleton. It would fit in a 50th percentile female frame, which is really hard to do, but it'll be easy to put in these big guys. This is our engineers demonstrating this device. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, and all the fingers. Now watch his fingers. Watch his index finger. Titanium, magnesium, 14 sets of processors. He's going to pick up a pen with an opposed index finger, opposed thumb, rotate at the wrist with a delicate grasp. Now a fist and a power grip with his thumb, pick it up and read it. That's what we did with our summer vacation. So we formed a nonprofit organization 15 years ago. The word education isn't in our name. First, it's like sports, right? We're going to use the playbook of the competitor that works. Make it fun. Double elimination tournaments. Trophies. To the White House. He agrees to do that. I get 23 little companies from all over the United States, like Boeing from Seattle, Intel, General Electric, General Motors, IBM, to each adopt one of 23 teams. They spend the next 6 weeks working with these kids. They build their robots. They come back for the double elimination tournament in Manchester, New Hampshire in the middle of the winter. And here they are 6 weeks after that picture. Everybody in the world that had ever seen FIRST in 1992 is in that room. It turned out to be enormously successful. Every corporate sponsor thought it had a great impact on kids and themselves. They loved participating. They loved the impact. So I told them, come back. We then spent 5 years doubling and redoubling from there. Don't need to see that, until we finally, in the 11th year, outgrew any portable arenas, and we had to go to a little place called the Astrodome in Houston. And then we started, the last 3 years, going to the home of the 1996 Olympics. We have 10,000 schools have teams. That's the pit area at the Georgia Dome where all these kids are frantically working on their robots with their corporate mentors, partners, sponsors. This is what we look like 5 years later, where two of the major companies that have played for 5 years are working with us. J&J, I know them well. I build them equipment. That's New Jersey, and Motorola in Chicago. Last year, 33 cities held events throughout the month of March. 33 different cities, 8 or 9 every weekend. And then we went to the finals. Data on the growth of FIRST, that's how many different schools participate. Data on how many kids on the teams. Independently studied by the Ford Foundation and the Brandeis University demonstrated the impact on kids, their willingness and eagerness, in fact, particularly women and minorities, to study science and engineering. This is not a 9% increase. That would make news in the Department of Education. That's a 9-fold increase. That's 9 times. We change kids' lives.